Hello, this is Nitin Dahad with the Times. I'm here in Santa Clara, California, and with the co-founder and CEO of PDF Solutions, John Kibarian. John, hello, how are you?
Thank you, I'm doing well. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. I'm here because you held your PDF Solutions every 2 years, User Conference and Analyst Day. And we've not really touched on what PDF Solutions does in the past, so we'll have a little discussion about your role in the ecosystem and what are some of the challenges today. So first of all, I mean, your theme this year was AI-driven collaboration for smarter decision making, I think. And you talked about, specifically in manufacturing, how today's tools are operating at 60 to 80% efficiency. And then you say, well, using AI, you can unlock about $140 billion worth of value through AI. Obviously, everybody's talking about that $1 trillion market by 2030. And to get to that, where do you need to be? And you showed some figures. What do you mean about how can you do that? And what do you offer to do that? Let's maybe go into a little bit about that.
And thank you very much for spending the time with us these 2 days. And it's always a lot of fun to engage with the press, our user community, our investor community. Just a great opportunity for us to sharpen our thoughts about what's important for everybody. So yeah, the 140 billion. How do we come to that number? If you look at the numbers that are out there, I think IBS, Handel Jones's numbers are about $1.1 trillion industry in 2030. And when you think about that, typically it's a 50% gross margin business, and so the chip industry. So that means roughly there's $550 billion of spend on manufacturing. And we as our industry build the most expensive factories in the world, right?
Yep.
Absolutely the most expensive factories in the world. And it's only getting more expensive. And yet when you look at the operational efficiency, the percentage of the time that those factories, and the most expensive part of those factories is the equipment that goes into the factories, the fraction of the time that those pieces of equipment are processing revenue generating wafers, 60 to 80% is great numbers in our industry today. So you're saying, okay, take the most expensive factories in the world, buy the most expensive equipment in the world, and then throw away 20 to 40% of its useful capability. So, how can AI and what is PDF doing to help the industry with that? And by the way, that's just one element of where costs really run away, because again, if I don't yield well, I'm going to throw away parts that even though I process that wafer, that's a revenue generating wafer, if that wafer is not achieving the yield I should get, I'm also throwing away some of that production capacity too, if you think about it from that perspective. So $140 billion of waste is actually in some ways an underestimate when you really kind of sit down and think about it. And so what we've done is put together an analytics platform usable by the industry, right? Broadly across the industry, for everyone from the equipment companies to the system companies, the data center companies that design their own chips. So everyone can have a perspective on the yield, the operational executions, the efficiencies of their processing, their test and their test efficiencies. Am I wasting time on test? Am I not testing the right things? All that is capable and available and analyzable inside the platform. And because if you just think about how wide that data set is, AI is super critical to that. Because in the end, no human can keep all of these different dimensions in their head, but programming can, software can, and that becomes an important part of what's going on.
Now let's just talk a little bit about that, because I think in the keynotes yesterday and also generally when I've been listening to everybody talking at this event, you seem to have in manufacturing operations lots of data silos, and the question is how do you pick up all the data from that and do some real-time analytics and real-time actions from that to enable those savings? How do you do that? And I think you also announced what called AI native enterprise scale platform. So how does that all fit together?
Sure. Yeah. It's when we can talk later about the origin story for PDF and just the evolution that journey we've been on. But in the end, what we realized very early on was how important directly talking to the tools are, because the data comes directly from the tools. You probably heard in the conference users talking about data quality and quality of data. Well,
Yes.
the tools are the original source. When you get it at the tool, you get the highest quality information. And you need context information to really make that data usable, which is things like what comes out of the ERP systems or the MES systems and things like that. So we have built out the capability of, and in fact, much of the equipment in the fabs today ships with our software on it. So something last year or this year, something like 8,000 processing tools, both for the front end and back end, shipped with PDF software on it, so it could those tools could communicate with the fabs, and that is from 200 equipment vendors out there that ship with our software on it. And then on the other side, you need to have software on the floor, in the test floors, in the assembly floors, in the production floors of the fab, that collect that data and align it with the context information that then enable you to do what we was talking, a scalable analytics AI first platform. Because that means you're going to have a very, very wide data set. What's unique about semiconductor production is we operate with extremely wide amounts of data. Sometimes it's not as deep, right? If you think about other data sets in other industries. We may only produce tens of thousands of wafers, and from that maybe millions or billions of chips, but we will have, when you think 1 million parameters to test and thousands into millions of parameters in process control, you need to be able to align all of that. And what the system, what we mean by AI first, is that alignment is pre-done, that availability is there, and the compute is scalable and Python native. So you can operate on it with your machine learning and your AI code, scale in parallel at big data volumes in quick responsive time.
And I mean, what we heard from Intel and Qualcomm, and I think Intel is one of your biggest customers, from what I understood from talking to people yesterday. But so they are actually using the platforms. But what I've also heard is, yours is a foundation, but then they're building their own sort of application layer, as it were, on top of that. So it's like a hybrid system. But I think you're being used to deliver, collect that data and then feed it into their bigger systems. Is that right?
Absolutely, yeah. So when we set out to build Exensio this platform, right, we did this in a way with standards, right? We share something like 10 standards bodies at SEMI around the way you interface with equipment, encryption and security on equipment, user interface on tools, every aspect around the interfaces between organizations. We make all of that available through an API. We provide the ability for the user to define their own things. Of course, we provide a lot of things out of the box that are canned per se, but each use case is unique and different. There's a lot of brilliant people in the world. We're not here in this world to say, folks, we've got the be-all, end-all way of looking at manufacturing. If you want to get at that $140 billion, there's no single way to do that. You're going to get at that many different ways. Yeah. Many different parts of the industry are going to tackle it. And yes, people like Intel and Qualcomm that are very large, proud engineering organizations have a lot of their own capability, and we want to enable them to leverage our system so they can take advantage of their creativity and make it. What
I've sort of sensed from the conference here is you've got very loyal customers. And I think we heard about where you started off from sort of yield improvement, wasn't it? Yes. So just take us through that journey, and then why is that the loyalty, and how are you so well established in the ecosystem there?
Sure. Yeah.
What does PDF stand for as well?
Yeah, sure. So PDF, not portable document format. We came up with that name in the early 1990s when we started the company because we wanted to bring together manufacturing process technologies, the P, design information, the design, and the fabrication facility, because what we felt was there's always variability in a fabrication facility. Even if the process developer develops the perfect process and the designer's done a great design, the equipment will vary. It will not do the same thing every time. So you're going to get a distribution of outcomes, right? And that was the whole idea and the proposition was to help people understand those interactions. Yeah. And in that early stages, what was very important for customers was ramping up the new node. And companies would go to the new node very quickly. Every 2 years you go into the new node, and so I don't need analytics past that ramp. Once I'm done through the ramp, I'm almost on to the next thing, and I do the ramp again. And so we focused at the beginning on that yield improvement, yield ramp stages. That meant we went through a lot of difficult times with customers solving really hard yield problems together using our analytics and their engineering genius on design and on process integration. And we did that for many years and still do that today. We work with customers on ramping up their most challenging process technologies, and we love that part. And you are in the trenches with folks, and that does build a certain amount of camaraderie that's out there. Secondly, about loyalty, and we don't take loyalty lightly. I mean, we really appreciate when customers use our products over decades. It means a lot to us, and we know we have to earn their trust every day on that. But one of the things we've come to understand about manufacturing, manufacturers have a lot of bosses, right? If you are producing an automotive chip, you're making a commitment for 20 or 25 years that you're going to do the same thing, and you're going to test it the same way, and the quality in the 25th year is the same as the quality in the first year, at least, if not better. And the quality tests that you put through are at least representative and consistent. So, but there's so much new out there in analytics and AI and algorithms. So we've been very thoughtful around trying to maintain our customers' ability to do the same workflows they did in the past, as well as add new workflows, while the underlying compute infrastructure, the algorithms, the database technologies, every aspect of the way you look at data changes, is modern. And that's really our commitment to our user community, is to make sure they can still do 10 years from now what they did today on what will be a very new analytics capability. We can't imagine what will be possible 10 years from now.
Yeah.
But we will make sure that they can take advantage of modern while maintaining the past. And we think that's been an important aspect of why customers are staying with PDF and continue to come to us. I think no one has had the persistence PDF has had in this aspect of the industry, right? I mean, we had the competitors we had in the 90s aren't here, the ones in the 2000s aren't here. You know, most of them go away over time, and we've been very persistent in investing for our customers.
And I'm not really sure, I think you've got direct competitors in all the areas. I mean, I was with Critical Manufacturing in Portugal earlier this year, and they do part of the MES, but I think what you're doing is you're doing it at a layer of much higher.
We work with the MES vendors. Critical is a great MES partner. IBM is our partner of ours with SiView, also an MES player. So MES is a complement to what we do and very important part of the industry. We love working with the MES vendors.
Okay. You talked about like nowadays, everybody in the ecosystem from fabless to manufacturer, and I think you talked about 8,000 pieces of equipment, but you said everybody is responsible for manufacturing. What do you mean by that? I mean, I think I understand, but let's just have a little articulation of that.
If you look at our customer base today, it's about almost 400, 370, we're growing to 400 customers. And it covers everyone from equipment vendors, wafer makers, like the MEMCs, the Soitex, et cetera. The fabs themselves, both the foundries and the IDMs, the fabless companies and the system companies. And why do I say everyone's responsible for yield? Well, okay, in the 1990s, 2000s, equipment vendor would produce a piece of equipment, literally put it on the loading dock of the fab, install it, and then, hey, it's theirs. They come up with the process recipes. They do everything on their own. Today, that collaboration is required to get a great recipe. Even a great inspection recipe comes through collaboration. And it's a co-work of the equipment vendor and the fab. And we provide a capability for the equipment vendors to remotely access the tools at the fabs and transmit data back and forth and software and models updated. That co-work is absolutely critical for the most advanced tools to run in these facilities today. Similarly, while the fab may produce the wafer and the OSAT may test it, the fabless company is more and more intimately involved with the way data is collected in the fab, what data is collected, what gets shared with them, especially the largest fabless customers, how they test, what conditions are used, what configurations are used. And then as you get into packaging as you go into 3D is very dependent on the size of the die, the nature of the production. So that is also becoming a team sport.
Okay. We can't talk. AI, I think, has dominated your analyst presentation yesterday in terms of the revenue and whatever. But there's a bigger thing to this, and I think you talked about AI with human governance. Just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, again, we recognize our community. Our community is a manufacturing community, and while I go back and ask ChatGPT or Copilot for stuff all the time in my personal life, and sometimes it hallucinates. And I'm okay with the hallucination. I like the creativity that comes with that. But our customers can't afford hallucination in manufacturing. And so governance, and we achieve governance through two critical elements of the platform. Orchestrations, the ability to say when this app, let's say an ERP, is talking to this app, which let's say is an MES system, and it wants to know about the routes, what guardrails does the manufacturer want to put on that for the ERP system to understand? In other words, so it's constrained in the way it operates, and therefore less likely to hallucinate. It's similar with workflows. You can say, okay, when computing yield, this is the workflow I want it to always go through, so it doesn't hallucinate on what yield is. So orchestrations and workflows are the way that we enable the humans to impart governance, but then still be able to take advantage of what's possible today with more generative AI approaches. And that's a big piece of what our customers expect.
Let's close down a little bit on sort of, you talked about your revenue forecasts, and well, at least for 2025, $207 million, which is a good figure. You've had 20-something% growth.
Yeah.
Just in terms of the challenges and the trends you're seeing, and where do you see yourself going next?
Yeah, so I think Kim and the other co-founder said at the Analyst Day yesterday, we think we are subscale to the nature of the problem, that we have a long way to go to have PDF achieve its full potential. Subscale because the opportunity is so large for the customers in the industry.
Yep.
And so while we're proud of the scale that we've achieved today, we think that there's a lot more to do that. And the next phase really has a couple of critical capabilities to it. That collaboration and the ability to network the industry is super critical. We see the deployment of PDF at a customer as not an isolated deployment that's there for them to use, much like the way you would deploy, let's say, an MES system in a factory, but a point that can be networked to all the other points, because they need to connect to their suppliers and their customers. And that is really what is number one and most important for our customers, in a way that's secure and controlled in their control and their ability to share and work in the way they want to work with their other constituents. And secondly, it's to enable them to bring more smarts and more intelligence in a more automated fashion, so they can decouple and be able to scale their business. If you're going to go from 500 billion to the 1.1 trillion that the industry forecasts, in a way that they can do that at pace, getting the best out of humans for governance and creativity, but still being able to operate faster, and what AI enables.
Well, good. And so PDF, I think you've gone through like acquiring tools and products and enabling that scaling of growth. So when you say, Kim said, your co-founder said about being subscale, so do we see more sort of interesting acquisitions in this area?
Yes, we do look at what things we should be acquiring. Sometimes our customers tell us the things they think would make great with the platform. Sometimes people, startups or others, come to us and say, I've got something that would be really useful. We don't assume we have a corner on intelligence, right? We love to learn from others on what we should be doing. So we're always open.
Well, John, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.